So what I want to do is just share with you, these people who own property out there and don't live there have no idea what their property is worth. And when he brought me that offer, I was really upset. But then it was like, well, how do I turn that down? So I sold it, and I thought I would never, ever, ever sell that property.
Today's the day. It's like Christmas morning for me. I am so honored and excited. Monica Reynolds, real estate convention speaker, leader of leaders, trainer, published author. You have dedicated your career to really just pouring in to so many people in real estate specifically. And most of all, you are so kind. And so there are many of us here today and beyond that really do admire you. And so I just want to shed a light on you and thank you greatly for your investment of time here with us today.
As I said to you, anytime, I'm happy to support anyone, anywhere, anytime I can.
Thank you. Thank you. So during these times, of course, there are several challenges as real estate professionals and business owners alike that we are all navigating at this time. And so how do you feel in terms of our real estate sales agents just pouring into the people who know them, love them, like them in terms of their sphere of influence? What is that looking like or sounding like? How significant is that to do today?
You know, it's really clear that you have to have constant communication and never ending. And so when we left the office, Gary shut the office down. We all work from home, and we're working a lot more hours than we ever worked before, ever. It's working out just fine for Gary and everybody. We discovered in March that the agents needed, as a coaching company, to call their database right away. And Gary always talks about it, service first and sales second. So the scripts that we put together, basically, which I wrote and Jeannie wrote, just basically said, you know, hi, I'm just calling to touch base with you. The purpose of my call was to say hello. How are you? How's the family? Is there anything I can do to help you? Do you need anything? And then, is there anyone you know in a difficult situation? We sometimes have, you know, resources that can help you. And so that first part of the call was just, I'm calling to touch base. How are you doing? Is there anything I can do to help you?
And that's the care call.
That's the care call. Now there's a second layer to the care call, and you call the second time again. And basically, because things changed the last 30 days from March to April, where a lot of people lost their jobs, now 30 million people plus have lost their jobs. And so the next call is, you know, I'm calling again to touch base with you. How are you doing? And then this is how I start the next call. Gosh, you know, I'm working from home, and I just thought I'd ask you a fun question. How's it going for you? How's your job going, you know, working from home? Now, they can say, and you have to listen in their voice, oh, well, it's tough. You know, I've got kids, and I'm a school teacher now, and this and that and whatever. And you go, gosh, you know, I appreciate that. You know, I've talked to a lot of clients, if you don't have kids, and they're having similar challenging issues being a school teacher. And then the next thing I say, so how's your company doing? You know, I care. How's your company doing? What if they said something to you like, well, it's really iffy right now, and I'm kind of maybe on the fence of whether I'm going to keep my job this month or maybe next month, and I'm kind of going day by day right now, waiting to hear. And I go, gosh, I'm so sorry. Since I have you on the phone and you mentioned that to me, could I ask you this question? Have you done anything proactive about maybe notifying your lender, or where you have your car loan, or possibly utility companies, credit cards, anybody that's a creditor, anybody you owe money to? Sometimes it's a good idea to be proactive and let them know that something may happen. And, you know, they may say, sorry about that. They may say, well, it's probably too soon. You go, no problem. I appreciate that. If it does come to that, give me a call back and I'll touch base with you too. I hope it doesn't. I have a whole list of what you can do to be proactive that can save your credit and buy you some time. So so I'm saying, how's the job going? Great. How's your company going? Oh gosh, it's just great, you know, and blah, blah, blah. We're doing okay. And okay, so that conversation is just fine. So then the next tier, if that part is fine, tier of the conversation is, Hey, I've got a question to ask you. I might be able to save you some money and put a couple bucks back in your pocket. What's your current interest rate? Well, got it like 3 years ago, four. We like the four. And I go, gosh, Keller Mortgage has 3.2%. No closing costs, no points, and they give you $1,000 back at closing. And so some of the clients that have looked at this, they realize that they could save possibly two payments, and then that extra money can really help right now by getting a new loan. Again, it's no points, no closing costs. I don't make any money. I don't even know if the mortgage company makes money, but this is part of what we do. Would you like me to set up this is all done, through the internet. Can I set something up for you? Would that be helpful? And a lot of them go, sure. Then if they say, no, we've got 3.5, we're good. You go, great. Let me give you another idea that might save you some money. Go to Keller Covered, COVERED.com. Put your name in there and your address, no cost or obligation. And they're going to compare, you're going to see all the comparisons of insurance. There's like 6 to 10 different companies that will automatically give you a quote. You might be able to save some money there. A lot of people have. So let me stop there. So what I've done is, the purpose of my call was to say hello. How are you? How are the family? Is there anybody in a desperate situation? That was in March. Okay. If you haven't done that call, you got to do it now. Second call, then you call them back 2-3 weeks later and say, just checking base. How is everything going? Do you need anything? Hey, I just wanted to let you know, you say, by the way, are you working from home? How's that going? Gosh, sounds like you got kids in the background. Boy, you've got that going on too. Gosh, And so basically, if you listen to the Bold Pivot call, it's about the forward conversation. Yes. Family, occupation, recreation. What are you guys doing for fun? And it maybe their dreams and goals, And so that depending on how they answer how's your job going, then you can go into the fun stuff on mortgages and covered. But these are all I care calls. I never bring up selling real estate. Who do you know? Who do you want to buy or sell? They will tell you if they have any questions. Well, we might want to sell our house. If my job goes south, we've got a bunch of equity. What do you think it's worth? Well, there you go. They brought it up. You didn't. So remember, it's about care right now, and it's about sales second. Okay. And so you can't over communicate with anyone. I know that Bold said you're supposed to do 40 contacts, 20 contacts, and 20 text messages. You can't over communicate at this time. There's no such thing as over communicating. Who are the most important people in your world? Make a list of them. I have a list that I have on my wall here, and I pulled it down earlier. And it's a list of all the people that I feel that I need to pay attention to, so I remember to call them, because you get so busy sometimes. And then, who are the most important clients you have, and are you reaching out to them on a regular basis? Have you called your entire database? Are you set up, and touching base with your database, letting them know that things are still happening in real estate? And I totally get New York, New Jersey. Gosh, you guys are, you're in the mix of the toughest right now. Yet you want to be coming from care, and yet you want to be finding out too, somebody's going to reach out to you because you called and cared, that may need your help in the future, and when you guys can really get back to work full steam. Okay.
Absolutely.
Pretty good.
Awesome. So timely. It's so necessary. It's impossible for us to over communicate, right? So
right.
I think a lot of real estate professionals are succeeding through others at this time, and really just pairing up and creating masterminds. And during Bold Pivot, of course, we all have script practice partners, and it just makes us think about leverage and continue to thrive through others. So to that angle, we have a lot of business minded people with us in our virtual room right now. The cost of a bad hire can be exponential. We know this from the models, right? So what would you say are just a couple of speaking points to having sales agents and mega agents alike just strive to having the right hire, and really just whether it's an admin or a sales role, what would you say are ways to just invest in making the right hire versus maybe a mismatch?
Well, I wrote the book on that in the 90s, and Gary Keller came up to me one time and he said, "See, you're the gal that wrote that book, right?" And I go, "Yeah." He asked me all these questions. He walked away and I go, "Who is that guy?" No, it was in the 80s, and
Wow.
or it was in that late 80s. And they go, "Well, that's Gary Keller." And I go, and they go, "He's going to build a franchise." And I go, "Good luck with that." That's where I am working for him now, right? Okay, so let me share something with you. You guys have access to the KPA. You should never hire anyone that you haven't looked at their KPA. So here, I'll share with you an assistant one, which works for a buyer agent and everyone else. So once I get a resume in, I require a resume. Then I look at that resume and I will call them and I'll say, "Hey, Ryan, did I catch you at a good time? Do you have a couple of minutes? It's Monica Reynolds. Thanks for submitting that resume. I'd love to ask you a few questions." So I ask them 4 or 5 questions like, "I can see what your job history is. Tell me a little bit about it." And then Ryan will tell me a little bit about it. Then the second thing I say, "So what are you the best skilled at?" If I ask some of your previous employers, "What are you the least skilled at?" That's question number 3. "What do you need work on?" "How would you rate your computer skills on a 1 to 10?" "Okay, good, great." And then let me ask you this question. "What do you do for hobbies? What do you have for a hobby?" Now, none of those questions are going to make it or break it. However, what I'm listening for, because I call them and I said, "Did I catch you at a good time? Do you have 5 minutes?" They might say yes, they might say no, then I'll reschedule. I want to know that they can think on their feet, put 2 sentences together and not go, uh, duh. Well, I gotta think about that. I mean, I can't have people like that answering the phone for me or answering questions with a client. I got to think on their feet. They've got some personality that comes through. And so I do judge on how they answer the questions. They got to have a little energy. They
Sure.
got to be able to put 2 and 2 together and answer the questions. There isn't a right or wrong answer. I just like to hear how they answer. If I like that, then that's the phone interview. Then I go to the next step, and that is great talking to you, Ryan. So here's what I'd like to suggest. Today is Wednesday. By 2 o'clock on Friday, I'd like to send you what we call a KPA. It's a Keller personality assessment. You can't win, you can't lose. It's just who you are. It's really fun to do this for yourself. The second one I'm going to send is a disc test. The first one will take 45 minutes. The other one might take 20 minutes, really fast. Will you have time between now and Friday at 2 o'clock? I'll send them within the hour to you. You say yes. And if by any chance, and then so I'm off, I go, great. I'll look forward to looking at those and then we'll set up an appointment. Now at 2:05, if I haven't received them from Ryan, you're done. You're toast. I'm going to email you and say, thank you. The position's been filled. Because I'm a prompt person. I like everyone to be prompt in my world. I have a time fetish, if you want to call it. I go crazy if I'm late somewhere. The second thing is that if you're applying for a job, you're going to be very respectful about that and show up. And right now you can do Zoom calls. And then once I get the KPA, then I'm going to call because I even the KPA, there's 37, I think, different categories. A lot of you know how many categories there are. I think there's 37 or so. And you're going to do the job match. And if it's a wrong job match, I still have to talk to them because you owe them the courtesy to go through it. And then sometimes it's like 1 in a million is a job match off. And so I've seen it happen and they've taken it again and changed. But anyway.
Wow.
So,
I love how you shed light on the way someone shows up, right?
mhm.
Because that's the best they're probably going to show up is in that phase of they're perceiving you have an opportunity that they may want. And so if they're late in the best honeymoon phase, then well, good luck, right? Success leaves clues, and like Gary says, so does failure.
Exactly. And so, you guys have all had this happen where someone came in when I was interviewing in my office and they came in 30 minutes late and they go, well, California traffic. And I'm going, well, okay, you're out of here. So, gone. And
Sure.
so it didn't matter what they said or didn't. I mean, if they didn't have the courtesy to call and say, you know what, I apologize. I didn't start out early enough. And then I didn't know there was a wreck on the 405. I mean, that's all they had to say. And I'm coming. I went, great. But if you don't even give me a courtesy call, you're out of luck. So with that said, when you're hiring someone, career visioning is a really critical thing to take. If you hire an assistant, obviously, I'm going to plug the perfect real estate assistant. I wrote the book 20, 30 years ago, 30 years ago, I guess, and, reinvented it every single year. Now we have perfect real estate assistant with the COVID processes in there now. So
Wow.
it's constantly updated. And so, but that brings to mind, I'm going to share a tip with you that I learned the other day from
Sure.
someone. I think it was Sarah Reynolds in Washington, D.C. She did 10 million in GCI, so we could pay attention to her. No relation to Monica, but Sarah Reynolds. So they did a process where they put COVID-19 on everything. So in my assistant training, give you a tip. So I had, buyer success tips to close a property, basically, and the do's and don'ts of what you do during the loan process. So we just put the title on there, like she's been doing, COVID-19 processes to close the loan. Nothing changed in there, but we made it for market of the moment. Does that make sense?
Right.
Market of the moment. And so what's great about that is that you can take a plan of action. You can take a buyer package, and you can just put COVID-19 buyer package. And then you can put a little thing in there about safety features. Okay, now you just use the same package, just put a page in there. And now you have market of the moment. So
Right.
to me, that was a great tip.
That's outstanding. It's literally pivoting to embrace what's happening now. And it's on the brains of a lot of consumers. What is
Mm-hmm.
happening in real estate, right? So if you go on YouTube and you look at your city or your township or your borough, are you the voice that's showing up in terms of Washington D.C. real estate? I'll say a mega team that did about 62 million in volume last year, the Coalition's property in Washington D.C. They've pivoted. They're cranking out videos that show the gloves and the process and the shoe booties and the sanitizing and how they're guarding and protecting their clients, and that's coming from a place of care and embracing the market of the moment. That's such an outstanding point.
Absolutely. And so it's market of the moment. And, when someone asks me, why are some agents doing great and some aren't? Number one is that they've embraced this as the new normal. Now, I know you guys are absolutely devastated in your area of the country, more so than most areas. And yet there's got to be a market of the moment that you're looking for leads, you're looking to how you can help people. There will be situations where people are going to have to sell their property at some point. And so it's just you being present for that. So that definition for market of the moment can be so different, but it's basically showing up and talking to people and reaching out at a high level.
And isn't that why I always talk about this with my MAPS mastery coach Patrick Woods? And you got into real estate to talk to people and transact real estate and help them with one of their greatest assets. So you know what? Go do that. It's
Yeah,
remarkable. It's not waiting. It's not waiting, right?
yeah, in some of these fast-paced markets, you can be an order taker and you get kind of complacent with that. You just kind of fall into stuff that's happening because it's fast-paced.
Sure.
And yet now this is about the care, and it's about also who you are is magnified when you show up with care. And there's so many stories out there where it just pays off big time.
So true. So true. So knowing that we are products of our environment, how have you seen coaching overall impact some of our greatest people in real estate?
It's kind of like it's a partnership. When this all happened, I said to the coaches, we have to lock arms with the clients. And we really have to, there's three words that I said: encourage, encourage, encourage. Okay, so that's the foundation of the coaching when we are hit with such chaos, crisis, devastation, sadness, all of this. We've got to lock arms. And then we've got to pick the client up and get them back into some sort of action that makes sense. And there's a lot of states, like yours, that completely shut down. One of the most resourceful things I've ever heard of. So in Michigan, the governor said, you can't go into property unless there's a contract on it. So agents would write a contract on a property so they could go in and list it. Does that make sense?
Wow.
I mean, they're so people are resourceful and creative. So the agent goes, well, I'll just write offers on everything that I'm going to go take a look at as a listing, or I need to get in there. I'll just write an offer, you know?
Sounds like something we do in New York and New Jersey. Just
Exactly.
do it and ask for permission.
Yeah,
Right?
get slapped and but go do it until they get mad at you. But anyway, so um what's real creative, so wherever your market of the moment is, it's about being creative and resourceful. And what the coaching with maps and with Gary's guidance, we've worked really hard to have clear pictures of what to do. So maps did over 100 hours with KWU on KW Connect on that pivot playbook, which you guys should all take a look at. There's so much stuff there. It's unbelievable.
So good. I was peeling through it last night. Masterful. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second thing is that Jeannie I and Matt Teeter wrote a leadership script book and also a pivot script book for agents. And feel free to pass that around. Even if you're not an apps client, love for you to have it. And I think, what we want to achieve with the clients is that their business will thrive and survive. So Gary did a live stream yesterday, and feel free to share that too, okay? Because
Sure.
you'll get a copy of that, or ask Chris for it and share it with everyone. So he talked about how to thrive in the market and survive, and that's what we're working with all the clients on right now. Gary made some huge investments personally. The last 2 months, all the mastery and breakthrough clients went to half of the financial obligation that they agreed to. So that was really, really great to give
And
them.
I want to just shed a light on that because that I feel is unprecedented. I don't know any other environment. I don't know any other franchise. I don't know any other real estate organization where, right, the founder CEO is going into their own personal liquid resources and funding an opportunity to coach, pour in, and help their people.
It was about $20 million that he contributed to. And so what he did, so you guys know confidentially too, is that we cut the fees on everyone, and yet the coaches got paid their full pay.
Amazing. Talk
I
about a
know.
win-win-win, really.
Right. And then if somebody signed up, I think it was in March, we gave 2 months free.
Wow.
Gary paid the coaches, and then the month of May, right now we still have the month of May is free if you signed up for coaching. But here's the bottom line. What I've been a coach for over 25, 27 years now, I guess, and been in real estate about 40 years. And one of the things that I've learned about coaching is that it's so much easier to have that helping hand, that person that you can trust in a business partner relationship. And the biggest thrill that I get out of coaching is when somebody succeeds at the highest level. When they make lots of money, it's like I made all that money. I'm so excited. And I love to partner with great agents who will do the work. And if they don't do the work, I like to unlock the key, get the key out and unlock what's holding them back and get them on track. And this is the most amazing career. Think about it. You can work from home now. You can work from anywhere. You can sell real estate, call your own hours. There's no limits to your income. No one's going to take your territory away. And yes, we did have a bit of a chaotic situation, and we still do for a while. And yet we're all resilient. That's why the people that are doing extremely well are making some changes where this could be the new norm for a while. And hopefully gradually you guys will get back to a new normal for yourself too.
Sure. And I believe that's why it is such a significant experience to align with a top coach in these times. I know I've revamped my 411 post COVID with my coach one-on-one. We have a GPS 135 for nearly everything significant. So the tools have been remarkable. career visioning you mentioned, just to spotlight. I feel like I'm in the fifth grade because I've only taken it 5 times. So really, so I think that there's a great opportunity to help people and make an impact. And you mentioned your early days and your first impression of Gary, and it was kind of a laugh off. Like, yeah, I'm sure he's going to create the number 1 franchise in the continental U.S.
Oh,
So
I got a better story than that. I knew Mo before she knew Gary. I knew Gary before he knew Mo. Mo called me, said she's going to leave Richard in Oklahoma. She's going to move to Austin and work with Gary Keller. And I go, I wouldn't do that. What are you thinking?
and that's great. And now look, right?
Yeah. Now look.
His ecosystem though is strong enough and big enough to have you as VP of Maps. How did that even happen? How did the opportunity
Well,
present
it's
itself?
been a long circle because the first time he was gonna bring in Maps, he asked me to build it. And and I'm sharing this totally honest with you, and everyone. I looked at that, I think it was the early 90s or maybe early 2000s, and I went, Gary, I'm not the person to go build this. I said, that's no. And at the time I was doing extremely well with what I was doing. And then it gets worse. They offered me, say, we'd like you to have California, all of California, and help us build the franchises there. And I go, no,
the region or a market center?
The whole state.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And what else do you want? And I went, no, I'm really okay. And that must have been the early 90s, about 93, 94, 92, somewhere in there. And I go, no, I'm really okay. I'm so busy right now. So I've turned down both of those opportunities, but I wasn't the right person to build Maps. Diana Kokoska did a great job of laying that. And like I said, she built the rocket and I've got the new fuel, and so I will always honor what she built. And obviously, since I took the job in July, and I took the job in July because I had told Gary about 19 things that were wrong with Maps. And he said, well, you better come talk to me. And I went, so I had a nice life in San Diego at a beach house that I have. And I'm watching the dolphins go by, I have my headset on, shorts and flip-flops, making my calls. And he goes, you need to fly out here tomorrow. And I went, oh, okay, fine. Because I cared about Maps.
Sure.
I left there with the job. And that was in July. And I had no intention of taking the job. I've turned down the job probably 5 times, but it was the right time for me to say yes now. And I left my beach house and now I'm in Austin, Texas, in my house here, confined. No dolphins.
Yeah, let me guess. No beach.
No beach and no dolphins. No flip-flops.
Wow, that's remarkable. It speaks to track record, to being valid, qualified, and then it sounds like you qualified that opportunity. Bowman Kitty shares this with us all the time. So when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right?
Yeah, and I wasn't ready for any of those jobs otherwise. And do I regret those? Oh, well, let me give you another one so you guys can feel sorry for me today. So I paid for Linda McKissick to fly, because she's my friend, to fly out to California because I used to do a big seminar called Feminine Force in Real Estate. And at the time I had Ivana, the mother, Trump there, and Susan Powder, and I've hired Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, you name them, Roger Staubach. I've hired all these guys, right? So I had these big seminars, and I said, well, I want you to come out and be on a panel. And I said, I'm going to have the CEO of Keller Williams, who's a gal named Mo Anderson. She goes, what's Keller Williams? And I go, well, it's a franchise in Texas. She goes, never heard of it.
And wait, who is this saying they never heard of KW?
Linda McKissick.
She's in my upline.
The biggest profit share person, probably made almost $2 million last year.
Sure. Yeah.
I introduced her.
Oh, so you're kind of in my upline.
No, I'm not. No. I was not Keller Williams.
Ah, got it. So
Mo. But I wouldn't join Keller Williams at the time because I was doing so great on my own.
You said, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Now, hey, Mo, you got to meet her. Oh, I got to take care of you, Monica. No, just meet her. You'll like her. It's all good. And so, but here's what I think the story is, that that there are opportunities that come. And had I had a coach, they might have made me look at some of those opportunities differently, because the only person I really talked to was me in my head. And had I had a coach, I would have made different opportunities happen, I think, because those were some big ones to pass up. And the story goes on and on. Like Mary Harker introduced her. I mean, the stories are huge. But here's the good news. We're all here at the right time right now. And there's a huge opportunity for recruiting, for building your team. People have lost their jobs. There's a great opportunities out there. So don't forget about recruiting right now. Agents are looking around, and Compass and Remax are all shutting down their offices and taking employees out. So lots of good stuff happening for us. Possibility if you take a look at the opportunities.
Sure, it seems like there's a lot of talent that may have not been attracted to such a business-minded environment, and now things have shifted.
Oh yeah,
Right?
oh yeah.
Shift happens. So in terms of, there's a great, on the mastery ecosystem for maps, there's a great tactic that I feel like you and your sales teams have focused on, and I believe the room needs to hear it. It's targeting absentee landlords or out of area owners, and talk about market of the moment. Could you just shed a quick light on that?
How did you know that was one of my pillars when I was in real estate?
I've researched. I'm a fan, and I will say you've shared it in the mastery environment. And frankly, when I was directly more so in sales production, I copied and pasted from you from that at that time.
Okay. So I made a huge living off of people who own property and do not live in the area. Your title company, there's all kinds of services that you can look up. People who get their tax bills sent out of area, out of state, out of location. So I mainly focused in California, anything that went out of Southern California, because that's where I was selling real estate. So if it was San Francisco, Northern California, Oregon, out of state, I was all over it. And so basically my tactic was this: I'd call them, and basically the script was this: "Hi, I'm Monica Reynolds with Keller Williams. Do you own the property at 123 Cherry Street?" And they go, "Well, yes." And I go, "Great. I just have a couple quick questions for you. I work with a lot of investors, and I wanted to see if you had any questions about the market here in Long Beach, and also if you had any thoughts about in the near future the value of your property, and if you were going to sell it. I work with a lot of investors who are looking at selling now and upgrading and doing 1031 exchanges. So what would you like to know about the market today? I'd love to share it with you." I also have another part of the script. When it's appropriate, I say, "Hi, are you the owner of the property?" "Yes. I happen to drive by your property, and I work with investors, and I had an investor reach out to me that they're looking for that kind of a property. Can you tell me a little bit about your home?" If you notice, I didn't say, "Are you willing to sell it?" I said, "Can you tell me about your property? Can you tell me about your investment?" And they'll tell me, and then I'll say, "Well, how'd you happen to come by that property? Did you buy that property?" And now I know the tax rolls when they bought it, but I just want to hear what they said. "Well, I inherited." "Oh," I said, "good for you. Who's managing this property for you?" And when I was driving by, I noticed there was 2 cars. The yard looked great, by the way. Now, in this day and age, I would probably take a picture with my iPhone if I was driving around out of area properties. And I'd say, "I even have a picture of the front of the house if you'd like me to email it to you. What's your email address?" So now I've got their email address, I've got their name, got their phone number.
Sure. Yep.
And so then basically just asking questions like, how's the rental been going? Do you feel your tenants have their job and you're not going to get caught where they're not going to pay their rent for 2 months and you can't evict them, right? Is there any questions you have about the market right now? So with that said, when you own a property, which I do, and you don't live near there, and you can't drive by it, it's a very, you're always curious what's going on in the market because you're not there and you don't know. And if somebody said to me, "I have a picture," and I went, "Wow, okay, yeah, I'd like to see that." The yard looked good. There were 2 cars there in the driveway. It looked like a couple of bikes out in the front. "Oh, they don't have kids." And I went, "Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe I should send you this picture." So here's a true story. So I owned a property in Long Beach, half a block from the beach. It's a 4 unit building and built in 1920s, an old Spanish. And I always call this my flagship. If I ever got broke, I was going to go live at the beach in this house, or in this fourplex, right? And so I never wanted to sell it. I owned it for over 20 years and it was pretty valuable. And so this guy called me, and I know this dumb script, right? He was with Marcus and Millichap, and he called and he said, "Hey, are you the owner of the property?" I go, "Yes." And he goes, "Well, I have a buyer for your property if you're interested." And I go, "Well, no, I'm not interested." And he goes, "Well, if you were to sell it, what would you sell it for?" So I threw out an astronomical number. Astronomical. Okay, so it was 1,800,000, and it was probably worth, I thought, 1,200,000 too. Like, 1,800,000. And he goes, "Okay, what if I brought you an offer?" And I went, "I'm not going to list it. You're not going to evict my tenants, and it has to be cash as is, no inspections. Don't disturb the tenants for 1 year. Call me back if you can get 1,800,000. He calls me back. He's got 3 offers.
What?
I think I would know the real estate market, but I don't, because I didn't live in the area. I lived in Arizona at the time. So what I want to do is just share with you, these people who own property out there and don't live there have no idea what their property is worth. And when he brought me that offer, I was really upset. But then I was like, well, how do I turn that down? So I sold it. And I thought I would never, ever, ever sell that property, because I hung on to that. It took me forever to keep that property. But so here's the thing. You don't know till you call these guys, and they're going to talk to you because they don't know the market. So I would be focused on that big time. And I know I'm running over, so let me give you another thought. Don't forget to call the for rents. "Hi, it's Monica Reynolds at Keller Williams. Are you the owner of the property that you're trying to rent at 23 Cherry Street?" "Yes." "Great. I am a real estate agent, but I work with people who coming to town who want to rent first. Can you tell me about your property?" "Yeah, blah, 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 blah." And I go, "Great. What about dogs? What about pets? What about this? What about kids? What's the deposit?" And I go through all that and I go, "Great. I made a note. So how long have you owned this property? Wow. What are your plans in the future? Do you plan on selling it? Our inventory is incredibly low and we could be at the top of the market. And a lot of investors are thinking, sell now, take those dollars and wait another 3 to 6 months. You might be able to pick up an amazing value. Have you thought about that?" So that's a for rent. Now you might get a property manager, and then you go, "I'd like to partner with you. I'd like to pay you 25% for any leads you give me. There's your other lead. Can we network?" Okay.
So many different ways, right? To generate the interest. Talk about subject matter expert, right? They're out of the area and you're texting them a picture of their investment property. I think you have their full attention, right? And
For
so
sure. For sure.
just like they look at the stock market, it's the real estate market, right? So
Right.
we're the real estate economists, and I think we need to be
Yeah.
reminded of that. That's so outstanding. So to
Yeah.
put a bow on it, the whole room, I feel, is leaning in. What is your legacy, and what is your big why? Don't you love that question? Send help.
I looked at that and I said, that's the worst question to ask me. And nobody really ever asked me that too often. And when I do, I just go, "Oh, brother, here we go."
Here we go.
I'm 71 years old. Okay.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I do not need to do this job. I want to do this job. I don't have to do this job. I want to do this job. I love the challenge. I love the opportunity to change lives and make a difference and build something. I've rebuilt maps. If a lot of you've noticed, a lot of changes, a lot of good things have happened.
Yes.
And so I've made my mark, and I'll continue to make my mark for a few more years, so God willing. And I was a school teacher, but then I hated teaching kids, so I stopped, and I had 3 kids in 3 years. That made sense, right? And and so basically, coaching to me is teaching and learning and
Yeah.
guiding and giving a hand up. And I've had a lot of experiences, and I just want to share what not to do. I've made so many mistakes financially and so many mistakes personally. And so I think, I've come through those battles pretty well. I got a beach house in San Diego. I live really fine in Austin. And it's taken me a long time. I've had a lot of hits and I stand up and get going again. So I think my legacy is that, you know, this is the most amazing career. You can have the most amazing life if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to focus on what it takes, and if you'll pivot into the market of the moment, and you'll pivot into this is a new normal and how do you adjust to it so that you can thrive and survive in it. And that's the bottom line. It's just love what I do. And if there's a legacy after that, great. If not, I'm okay with that too.
I'm pretty sure there is. So how outstanding. Thank you. And I just want to specifically thank you because there's a lot of real estate professionals who have tuned in to the Perfect Real Estate Assistant course specifically, and it has so greatly impacted the way that they succeed through other people and really insulated their business that I just want to thank you because a lot of people that I've had the pleasure of working with and work with to this day have just pulled away so many systems and concepts to just avoid tremendous mistakes. So you've certainly empowered, even just through that one course of the Perfect Real Estate Assistant has been so significant in the lives of so many.
Well, I appreciate that. That is my one thing. And I don't know how I got that, but for some reason I got that as my one thing. And funny part of that story is I got thrown out of a Coldwell Banker office that I was the top producer in, did more business than everybody together because I brought in an assistant in the 80s and they said, you can't do that.
That was not a thing back then. That was not
No,
cool, right? Okay.
no. Oh, in the early 80s, I was making more money than as a single woman, any doctor, banker in town. And I couldn't get a loan unless I had a cosigner as a man.
Wow.
So
Wow.
come a long way, come a long way. But, I appreciate your organization. I think you guys are all amazing. And
Thank you.
some things that we can do in the future to increase your membership. And I'm all in. Just let me know what I can do to help.
Thank you. Big shout out to the BRN, the Black Realtor Network, the national platform of KW. And I just, wow, how tremendous. Thank you a million, Monica. Wishing you the best always. Proud to call you a friend. Thank you.